Lori Gibson and Lisa Perdue were never accused of physically hurting the children, but they are accused of not reporting the abuse that prosecutors say they witnessed repeatedly in teacher Nancy Boggs' classroom. Now those families are demanding that they be held accountable. You've heard her and her classmates' story over the last 2 years, how they were abused in their classroom by their special education teacher Nancy Boggs. But you've not got a chance to meet Sophia Pressman until today.
I tried it.
She just turned 10, but when she was 7, she's the one who came forward to a bus driver and told them Boggs had hit her.
Unspeakable.
Her bravery, finding her voice to tell someone what was going on, were the catalyst for change. West Virginia laws were strengthened. It's now a felony for a teacher to abuse a student, and those videos, they have to be reviewed every 90 days. And it doesn't take a complaint anymore to be allowed to pull the video. Boggs is now serving 10 years in jail. Lawsuits against Kanawha County schools are settled, but there's one final thing that has to happen.
We're paying attention. This can't fizzle out because this is our last opportunity to get justice for our babies.
The classroom aides, Lori Gibson and Lisa Perdue, have yet to go to trial. Facing several counts each of failure to report, prosecutors believe they knew the abuse was happening, but they did nothing to stop it and told no one that it was going on.
They protected themselves by protecting Nancy Boggs to the detriment of our children, our intellectually disabled children. And that's a horrible, selfish thing. It was the wrong thing to do. And an example needs to be set.
Craig Bowden's son, Trent, was also in the classroom. The judge in the case calling it a place of torture.
The first time they witnessed abuse, if they'd have made the phone call, it would have been investigated right then and there.
A state DHHR report obtained exclusively by Eyewitness News found that child neglect and abuse was substantiated for both aides. State workers said they reviewed classroom video over a 2-week period in September 2021, observing Boggs pulling chairs out from children, slapping them, pushing their heads into desks, even forcing Sophia to eat out of a sink and off the bathroom floor. The document said Gibson reported concerns to the school administration, but only after Sophia told the bus driver. It went on to say Perdue was present during most of the instances.
They're just hoping that it slips through the cracks, and I'm not going to let it.
The state's conclusion, neither aide reported the multiple incidents witnessed. Both failed to intervene or protect the children.
It's hard to wrap your head around the fact that there's even 3 people that could be in the same room and all be okay with something like that happening. 3 adults.
The trial has been continued twice since the aides were charged a year ago. The prosecutor handling the case said they're working on a swift and just resolution, saying in a statement to Eyewitness News, quote, "We believe that not just these final cases, but the entire group of cases involving Holz Elementary will serve as a reminder that mandatory reporting exists to prevent situations such as this from happening, and these types of cases are taken seriously by the prosecutor's office."
We're ready to move on with our lives.
That's what these families want, some form of closure and justice. They'd like to see the aides spend some time in jail, even though the charges are only misdemeanors in the eyes of the law. But more importantly, they say they don't want them to be allowed to work with children ever again.
I think that they do need to feel this and it not just be something that they are able to quickly move on from, and because, you know, we'll be dealing with it for life.
We begin here at noon with an exclusive report. The special needs classroom abuse cases at Holz Elementary have been settled for a record amount of money, making it the largest settlement against a public school board in West Virginia history. Eyewitness News reporter Leslie Rubin is live in the studio now with what this means for Kanawha County schools. Leslie.
Anthony, there were 7 lawsuits against Kanawha County schools representing the 7 children that were in former teacher Nancy Boggs' classroom at Holz Elementary in 2021. After filing a Freedom of Information Act request with the Board of Risk and Insurance Management that provides insurance coverage for all state agencies, I've learned that combined the cases settled for $11.75 million.
People are starting to see this on video and starting to understand what's really going on. I mean, this is not in every school, this is not in every special needs classroom, but thankfully the legislature changed the law, had cameras put in these self-contained classrooms, and we're seeing it now for the first time. This has been going on for years. It's not just Kanawha County, it's not just West Virginia.
Meanwhile, today, Lori Gibson, one of the aides in the classroom who was accused of not reporting that abuse, she's going to trial. She's facing 7 counts of misdemeanor failure to report. The other classroom aide, Lisa Perdue, entered into a deal with the state last week that would drop her charges if she meets certain rules and requirements for the next year. A request for comment from Kanawha County Schools about the settlement hasn't been returned. Lori Gibson and Lisa Perdue have since been fired from the school system. Reporting in the studio, Leslie Rubin, Eyewitness News.
Leslie Rubin was the only reporter in the courtroom as Lori Gibson took the stand, saying she never witnessed abuse by Nancy Boggs. And Leslie, she said if she did, she would have reported it.
Gina, that's right. Lori Gibson said she and Nancy Boggs had a strained relationship since she started working alongside her in the classroom as an aide in 2018. She said Boggs had unfairly accused her of stealing copy paper and had even written a 3-page letter to the principal saying that she was intimidated by her. She said it's for those reasons that she would have had no problem reporting anything Boggs was doing to those special needs children that she thought was abusive. Now, Gibson is charged with 6 counts of failure to report, a misdemeanor charge that carries a possible jail sentence of up to 3 months. Prosecutors played classroom video that showed Gibson in the room on those 6 occasions on 3 separate dates in September 2021. But Gibson said in 3 of them, Boggs had abused a child behind a white curtain and she had no idea what was happening. Prosecutors contend she should have known, or at least had a suspicion, based on sounds that were coming from behind it that included a child having a chair pulled out from underneath her and being hit in the head with a metal cabinet. In the other instances, Gibson said she didn't characterize what Boggs was doing to a child with Down syndrome as physical abuse. Boggs could be heard berating the children and appearing to slap and grab one. Gibson said Boggs wasn't hurting him, but being stern.
No, I don't think she was being inappropriate. They're calling that charge, I think, a slap and grab. What is happening is when she walks past him, his shoulder, hey. It's not like she tried to dislocate anything. She was hey, and she does spin his chair around. He's crying, and she lays his hands in his lap. That was not concerning to me, no.
Okay. You were sitting right there?
I was, yes. I was standing there.
Gibson also contends that she did report concerns about Boggs isolating a student to the school's principal the day before the abuse came to light, after a student alerted a bus aide that Boggs had busted her lip.
Eyewitness News reporter Leslie Rubin has followed the Holz Elementary School abuse investigation for 2 years. And today was a final chapter for the families who said they are disappointed with the verdict, but ready to move on. Leslie?
Lori Gibson was accused of 6 counts of misdemeanor failure to report. The charge only carries up to 3 months in jail if she was convicted, but the jury said she committed no crimes inside Nancy Boggs' classroom in September 2021. She's lost her job with the school system, but the criminal case is now completely finished. Gibson took the stand yesterday saying she never personally witnessed Boggs' abuse to students with special needs, a 9-year-old boy and a 7-year-old girl. The state's best evidence came with those classroom videos that were at the forefront of this case from the beginning, but it would prove a tough case to convince the 12-member jury that Gibson saw the abuse and took no action to call CPS within the 24 hours that she was mandated to do under law. Gibson said abuse on the 7-year-old girl took place behind a white curtain and she didn't know what was happening to the child when Boggs pulled a chair out from underneath her and hit her with a metal cabinet. As for other instances, Gibson said what she saw she didn't characterize as abuse. She said Boggs was instead being stern with the student. Beth and Craig Bowden, whose son Trenton was abused by Boggs, have tirelessly taken on the state legislature to strengthen laws in the classroom. And while they say they don't agree with the verdict, they tell me there's nothing more they could have done to fight for those children.
Even though the verdict today was not guilty, I am walking out with pride because I think that we've made a difference just getting the conversation started. So I feel good about it. Even though we didn't get what we wanted, I feel good walking away today.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, God's will was done. And, you know, there's nothing else that we could have done.
I asked Gibson and her attorney, Michael Del Giudice, for comment right after the verdict. Del Giudice told me that they were happy with what the jury decided. He said, though, it was all only about the children. Another aide in the